Did you know that you could go from being a banker to being a coffee farmer in Honduras?
What the fuck?
Hi everyone, it's Chris and Amelia here, and we're back with a new episode of What the Field, which is our podcast by CrowdFarming, where we get to invite people that we think are super interesting and we chat to them about how to build a better food system and lots of other topics that we enjoy. So this month we have a bit of a different guest joining us today, Bernard Ornilla, who is also known as the coffee expert. So Bernard, thank you so much for joining us today from Bilbao.
Thank you, Amelia. It's a pleasure.
We know a little bit about your story already, but it would be great if you could kind of share with us and explain how you got into this coffee business. Why did it interest you in the first place, and how did it really get your attention?
Yeah, thanks. Well, I started in a awkward way, I would say. My background is in finance. I used to work in investment banking in Madrid, and then I switched to social banking or impact investment. And I wanted to do real economy, to be in touch with the rural economy, and that's why I chose to switch to this impact investment, where investments are not only about the money but also about the social and environmental impact behind them. So I started to work with organizations that were promoting this kind of ethical finance or impact finance. And this took me to visit countries in the south. And there, in the tropical areas, you find the coffee. And I started to visit these institutions that were funding smallholder farmers that were producing coffee, among other crops. And of course, as I think any European, I was a coffee drinker. I used to have it with sugar and milk, not anymore, but I started there to learn what was behind the coffee cup, what was involved at the level of the farm, at the level of the processing, and of course, in my area of work, at the level also of the financials and the certifications behind. So I started to learn more and more about the challenges behind it, and it got me very interested. And a couple of years later, that was in 2008 when I had my first encounter with coffee, and in 2012, I decided to start my own coffee farm, organic coffee farm, and I wanted to make it as a different project, as a different farm, where I could test the theory that a farmer in coffee could also have other income coming from the farm, but also could be able to design the farm in vision of promoting organic agriculture, polyculture, and intelligently using the plants that were planted as intercrop with the coffee could help to have better coffee, to help adapt and mitigate to the climate change, but also to generate other income from the other plants. So I started working in a cooperative in Honduras, where I had the farm next to the farm, and for that I quit my job as investment banking, and I became consultant, and then I could invest time at the farm, learning about agriculture, organic agriculture, learning about how to promote the value chains of the other plants I had at the coffee farm. So that's in a nutshell.
So you didn't just suddenly decide to buy a farm and to become a coffee farmer. You decided to go all in with organic, agroforestry, everything.
Yeah, and I, as an idealist and environmentalist, I am. I wanted to try to change the world further. I was working in impact investment, which I think it's one of the the ways, one of the instruments we have to make that possible. But it wasn't enough. I wanted to see if I could do more. And as a farmer, I didn't have any experience at all. I I didn't know anything, but yeah, I decided to go ahead and work in a precision agriculture view with all these ideas of the triple objective, no, financial, social, and environmental. And I was lucky to be invited to do this in this cooperative called Capucas in Honduras, where there is a general manager, Omar, who is amazing. He has a strategic vision that's fantastic, and he's a bit crazy like me in this topic. So he said, "Yeah, let's do it." So in 2.5 years there, we were able to develop the biggest organic processing plant in Honduras, the biggest honey processing plant in Honduras, the sole greenhouse vegetable production in Honduras, the only dried fruit production in Honduras. We were the first in export organic lemongrass and passion fruit to Yogi tea in Europe. The first one in Honduras, no? So thinking of using our organic certification, our fair trade certification, our access to markets, we were able to quickly develop the market, export market, but also local. And then using also our contacts in the impact investment world, we were able to secure, for example, a 0% credit line with Kiva, the biggest crowdfunding institution based in the US, San Francisco. We were able to secure some technical assistance funds from IFAD, the United Nations, and also we had the fair trade premium that we could invest. But we didn't expend a lot of money, time, yes, and we were able to develop 13 value chains in 2.5 years, and it was quite amazing. And we were able to demonstrate the theory that at the farm we can not only produce coffee and sell coffee as a cash crop, but also we could have other plants that would generate income. Of course, we saw that not all the plants are suited for every altitude, and we need to manage them properly. Well, that was a huge experience that took a toll on us, and particularly on me and my farm. But it was a huge learning process that helped us to develop the concept and narrow it down into something that was sustainable. Is sustainable.
You make it look so easy, Bernard, like achieving all of this in 2.5 years. So what is stopping, or what was stopping this cooperative and farmers in general in these areas that you know better from doing that? Is it the knowledge from that you had from finance before, or what is it that is stopping them and that you were able to do in just 2.5 years?
Yeah, I think that information is all, and the correct partners. No, in my case, I started farming in 2012. I moved to Honduras to live there in 2014, and I stopped at the end of 2016, no, and working for the cooperative and developing all this. So basically, I think that the people that have the heart and the love and the passion and the intelligence too, and the hard-working ethics are key. But also, of course, the knowledge of the market, the knowledge of the certifications, the knowledge of the access to resources is also helpful. And in this kind of cooperatives of coffee or of other kind of farmers, there's always a few in the organizations that are enlightened, that are trained, that take all the knowledge that they are allowed to get from the exercise of their activity and put it into nice projects. In our case, I had been developing a wide network of institutions doing great things around the world. I was the investment manager finding them and offering them funds and analyzing them. So it was very easy for me to find those connections, and once they were done, there was a personal connection too, and it was easy to set up like an international network where we could all learn from each other, and still it's a reality now. So I think that is basically what helped us to make this possible.
And that's such a big like life change as well. It must have been a crazy experience to move to Honduras and have that experience. Are you still based there today, or do you just travel there occasionally?
Yeah, so I was there for 8 years in a row. I went there, and well, it wasn't in my plans, but I met my wife, and we had a little girl there. She's 6, Irene, and then we had a family issue. My father wasn't well. He was not going to live very long, so we decided 2 years ago to move here to my hometown, Bilbao. 30 years after I left, when I was a 16-year-old, and I came back age 46 with a wife and my little daughter, and she was pregnant. My wife was pregnant, so we had a little boy here, Martin. And after my dad passed away, we decided to stay and try what was living here, and also managing the farm from the distance. So it's quite a challenge, but for now it's working. With the COVID, we learned how to manage the farm a bit also remotely. I have a very good team on site, and I have to go from time to time, of course, and I'm on top of the management of the farm, and being here helps me to channel better the sales and the relationships and communications with the buyers too. So it's another way of organizing the life, and for now it's working. But perhaps in next year we'll go back. It's not closed yet.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's such an adventure. And so, like as you said, you have a really great team on site and everything that you've worked closely with. What would be like a day in the life of working on a coffee farm in Honduras?
Well, coffee is not an activity where you need to be every day, well, as many of the other farming activities. So you need to have a plan of how to manage the farm, and it's pretty straightforward what you can plan up ahead. But of course, you need to adapt to the climate conditions. For example, if it's not raining, you cannot put the fertilizer. If you don't have enough people to work, you cannot work. That's an issue also lately at the farm, at the countries. But basically, depending on, for example, let's talk today. Today, my farm manager Christian is going to go to the farm, and he's going to spray together with 2 other workers a product that we elaborate at the farm. It's a foliar, so a liquid fertilizer that we use with microorganisms that we have collected from the forest next to my farm. They have already like 10 years, 9 years perhaps. So they're getting better and better. We use also fermented grass. We use a product we made called biochar, made of the vegetal carbon we extract from our farm, and other ingredients. And this will help the coffee to have some food, some nutrients, and
a healthy soil.
Healthier and stronger for what's coming. So right now it's what's coming is the development of the bean. We already had all the flowerings. Normally there are 3 cycles of flowerings, and 9 months later we can harvest the bean of coffee already with the optimal ripeness. So right now we are preparing that. We just had the cutting of the grass too last week. We finished, and in 1 week or 2 weeks time we will have to plant the new plants that we from our coffee nursery in the farm.
That's crazy. That's so.
Sure. Yeah, so we are talking here about Arabica coffee, right? This is one of the main varieties of coffee, and is in theory the market, the most aromatic and the most expensive in normal conditions. And in Honduras, it's the only variety we have. So the family of Arabica. So effectively, the fruit is like a cherry, and it's called cherry coffee, and we have mostly all of the coffees have a red color, but some have yellow, pink, orange. Yeah, that's all. For example, in my farm, I have four varieties mainly. One is bourbon, and it's red bourbon. I have Catuai, I have the red and the yellow variety, and I have Lempira, which is red. So mostly my coffees are red. So what you have to do in order to get a good product is wait until the cherry is in optimal ripeness, and this you see because of the brightness of the color. For example, the red turns like a, I want to say it's a strong, a dark red. No, it's like a cherry when it's ripe. Well, the same. They call it sangre de toro, the bull's blood, as the color. Whereas the yellow is not, the yellow catuai is not yellow. It's more like a yellow orangish. It's like nanthe, a fruit that's a tropical fruit we got there. So once you have those berries at the optimal ripeness, then you have the highest percentage of sugar inside, so that the fruit is nicer. It's just like in any other fruits. I think it's the same. No? So that's the first thing. So once you pick the coffee. In our case, we don't use machines. We use hand pickers. So with the fingers, they will pluck it from the plant one by one.
Wow.
And then from there, we take it as fast as possible to the next step, which is the processing. We use it. We call there are two kind of processes: the wet processing and the dry processing. The wet processing is when the fruit, the cherry, is still wet. So, and the second one is when the cherry, when the coffee bean is with a humidity of a maximum of 12%, from 9 to 12%. So that's the dry one. So the first one, the wet processing, you have three types of processes. The most common is the washed. Basically, you have to detach the pulp of the cherry from the bean, and you will let it dry. And the second, well, sorry, and no, first you have to wash out. That's why it's called wash from the cherry. Around the cherry is protected like a kind of parchment, like a kind of pergamino, we say in Spanish, like the small cover.
A skin or something.
Yeah, like a skin, like a hard one that has on top between the cherry and that skin, it has the mucilage, which is all the sugarish liquid, and that one after 15 hours sitting, after being depulped, after being resting, you can wash away that mucilage, that sugar content, with water. That's why it's called washed, and then you put it to dry. In my case, I use solar dryers to do this. Then the other process is honey process, which is you depulp the coffee, the cherry, and you leave the mucilage with the bean, and that bean, the fermenting process and the drying processes will make an absorption of that mucilage into the bean, so that the bean will have another flavor, much more fruity, much more sweet.
Because the sugars in that the sugars in that liquid, then do they go into the bean, and that ends up being a more sugary, like coffee
Correct.
profile? Oh, that's so interesting.
The third process is called the natural process. So you don't depulp, you leave the coffee drying inside the cherry. So you just let it dry. So in that case, there's even more fruitness, there's even more sweetness, because all of the mucilage, all of the sugar content is stuck to the bean. No? Yeah, that's the first part. Once you have that, normally you have to leave it rest for a month.
And which one you do, Bernard? The third one?
I do the 3.
The 3, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the one that has more demand is the first one.
Oh, really? It's cheaper, or...
It's more we are here in Europe and the US where I sell, they are more used to it. We are more used to the flavor of that kind of coffee. If you have a honey process or natural process, it's not easy to get used to it, to have it every day. So perhaps you can have it once in a while. It's pretty sweet, and most of the customers say, well, from time to time it's fine, but not every day. So for the everyday, coffee is normally more common to have a wash. Yeah, but there was more and more people changing. But yeah, in the world, it's washed coffee is more.
It's surprising though, because like people do put sugar in their coffee. Like a lot of people choose to add sugar to their coffee already. So if there was like a sweeter alternative, it's crazy that it's less popular.
Well, yeah, if we get into that, let me explain that coffee has a natural sweetness, but it's not the same to have a good quality coffee that to have a less quality coffee. No? So it's very easy to know. Most of the time, so if you are having a good or a bad coffee, or not, I won't say bad, but less good coffee. It's because of you can see the color of the roast. If it's very dark roast, normally, some countries like it dark roast, like for example the US with all these Folgers type of coffees, or the Turkish. But normally, if you don't like that dark roast flavor that you have in Starbucks, for example, why do you dark roast the coffee? Because you need to cover some defects in the coffee. So too much bitterness, for example, you can kill it. But by killing that, you are killing the coffee, because you're burning the coffee. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. So if you for the health, no, so you are burning more the coffee, and you're changing the coffee flavors, and then in order to cover that bitterness that you get, that acidity that you get with that burning, you need to add sugar, you need to add milk, and perhaps your stomach doesn't like it very much. Whereas if you go into another roast, less dark, so medium roast, then you will be able to taste all the flavors, all the sweetness, all the acidity, all the full body, the aftertaste. You will get with a good roast, of course, and with a good pouring of the coffee, filtering of the coffee, brewing of the coffee. No, it's all a chain. No, the producer has to produce good coffee, the processor has to process it correctly, then the roaster has to find the correct roasting profile, and then the barista or the person at home that's doing it has to find also the way to extract better the properties and be able to get the full flavor of the coffee. So coffee has sweetness, but some coffees are not that sweet. And most of the coffees in the world, unfortunately, have very low grade because they don't do the process as they should. They don't collect the coffee when it's ripe. They collect not only the ripe coffee, but the others too. And they don't process it properly. Sometimes they over ferment the coffees. They have phenol. They have some bad primary defects that they have to cover some way when the roaster gets it. So unfortunately, that's almost the majority of coffees in the world have problems. The commercial grade coffees we call that's not that we have in the coffee shops. Normal.
Yeah, I was going to say, now there are so many opening up in Madrid and everything, but like the trend of the specialty coffee places. And when you talk to the experts who are there and everything, the way that they describe the flavor profiles, it's like wine. In like there are so many descriptive words and different like profiles for the flavor. It makes me think of wine experts, which I forgot what they're called. Enologue.
Indeed. There's a big parallelism with wine. It's amazing how the industry has developed the standards, the quality standards. It's even the only product in the world and food that has a numeric qualification. No? So you have, like wine, all these descriptions of the flavor, of the fragrance, of the aroma, but then in the coffee you actually give a number. No, to when you cup the coffee professionally, then you have to score how much is in sweetness, how much is in acidity, how much is in body, how much is in aftertaste, how much is in balance, and then you add up and you make the average. And in each of these categories, you give some descriptions too. No? So you find the aroma and the fragrance are different. No, when you have the coffee that is just milled and doesn't have water, that's one, and when you have the coffee with the water, that's another one. No? So you have to collect all that information and describe it, and you can find that there's a big difference between how we score it in Honduras and how we score it in Spain. We are all trained to have the same parameters, although there's always some subjectiveness there, but it's pretty stable. So it's quite amazing how all this is done, and all the work that's being done by these specialty coffee shops and specialty roasters is helping a lot to enhance this product and to put the knowledge in the people, and make it.
So we've seen that probably many of us don't even know how like real coffee tastes like, because it's like covered with this like roasting. But fortunately, it's changing because of like this culture maybe of coffee specialty shops. But what about the organic coffee market? Like, is there a market for this? And is there people who are actually looking for organic coffee, or is it still very niche and it depends on the vision of the farmer?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's very niche, like every other, I would say, farming products, because of the green revolution that we have been believed to be the best for us. It's been very negative for the promotion of the organic farming. I think that there's coming from the governments, from the universities, from the industry, organic farming is not something that has been given the importance it should, and even the knowledge of the microbiology in the soil. I mean, if you talk with experts, I've been talking, they do not have this knowledge, and they just normally the agronomists, they are taught to sell formulas of some products they sell to the farmers, no? And who, if you look who's behind all this, well, you see big companies like Monsanto and others that are funding the universities to change the contents on the research on what's being taught to the students, or they could get out to the market and they don't know, and the farmers do not have enough scientific knowledge sometimes to work in good standards, and that's why we need to make the network bigger and to share and to promote the practices. And well, if the market can help us by paying a bit more, well, that's for sure very welcome. But indeed, there's a lot to do, and there's a lot of potential that unfortunately doesn't reach the farmers. And it's a pity, but what personally me and the organization I work with are promoting this. No, now I'm since 2014. I'm also a member of COMSA. It's a producing organization in Marcala, Honduras, and we have cutting edge technology in organic farming, and we believe in a holistic view of farming, no? Not only the coffee but everything else. No, so that is what we try to teach our farmers to do by themselves, but also at the level of the farm, at the level of the organization, we do promote the practices and produce the products needed at the farm, because sometimes we don't have time, like me, to prepare the products, or the products, for example, the solid fertilizers, or we don't have the ingredients or the machinery or the time or the place. So we try to make the people think, to put the knowledge in their heads, and not to give them the easy solution always, because we need to adapt what we know to our farm, to our environment, and it changes a lot. Even inside your farm, I have different soils, because I don't know, in the past 1,000 years ago, it was I don't know, there were some plants there, and in the other one there were other plants, or there was a river, so the soil is different, and the structure and how the plants adapt. So it's really very interesting, because you never get bored, and you always learn, and you have to observe, understand, and try, and to make mistakes, but then you learn from them. And so organic farming is the future, and I think that we have to see it as something needed for the world, but not only from the economic point of view, because sometimes all the certification bodies and all these rules are sometimes difficult to cover for a lot of farmers, no, and that limits a bit the expansion of the model. But definitely we could easily promote organic farming all over the world, and for that we need more CrowdFarming platforms, and more COMSAs, and more farms that really are doing things and can motivate others to do it, and exchange information and good practices, and bad too.
I just wanted to clarify for our listeners, like the Green Revolution, just in case someone didn't know, the Green Revolution is exactly the opposite of what it sounds like. The Green Revolution sounds like it's for sustainability, but in reality it's a revolution that was brought as modernity, and at the moment probably it was, but it's all about using synthetic pesticides, fertilizers, etc. So this was what Bernard was talking about a few minutes ago. And Bernard, when you get there and decide to go all in with the farming and the organic and start with all together from scratch, what are the main challenges that you can find in Honduras in practicing coffee farming organically?
Well, first of all, the knowledge is not that easy to get, and that makes you have to take some risks and do some experiments and see what works, what doesn't. I think that we sometimes try to invent the wheel, and it's already invented. So in my case, for example, I come from the finance industry. I had some ideas, but I didn't look enough into what the old people in coffee and the old wisdom
Before the Green Revolution.
Yeah, so we all this now we're talking about adaptation and mitigation of climate change. These are practices we already have for a long time in Earth, no, in farming. So I try to apply them, but also apply some others with an economic view too. No, so for example, in our farms, we were quite a group of producers that are trying to make things different. So we started planting ornamental plants because we thought, well, they have a double function. They help us to control erosion at the farm. They eventually they can be sold. It's a nice plant that you cut it and it comes out again. And then they act like pollinators because that's something we are also very into. But what happened that these plants have a long root system and they go everywhere and they compete with the coffee plant. So it wasn't that such a good idea. In other parts, in Costa Rica, for example, they have them around the farm, not intercropping. No, just to put you an example. No, so that was, I think, the challenge, no, to have the correct information or at least the bad experiences to learn from. The other one is about something more external, and it's how the climate change is making some phenomenons be more extreme, the droughts, the rain, and that makes really challenge your coffee production, no? And in my case, I can clearly see that I'm better off than my neighbors because, for example, a plague comes in my farm is 1,650 meters high, which for coffee is quite high. You start from 900 onwards, and my fellow farmers, neighbors, that one is organic, but the other one is a cow farmer. But then I have the neighborhood other two, and when a plague came, they destroyed their farms. And in my case, I got 50, 60 plants affected only. So, my productivity is lower than them because they don't have any shadow at the farm. But I resisted better to the plague. So that climate change is affecting me. Even I have my own forest. They cut down all the forest and just have coffee, and I have my own forest. And from where I get water for watering, I don't water the coffee farm. Don't need that, but I use it for my liquid fertilizer distribution. So, and then some families use it for their animals and some to drink. So all the year round I have water, but there was 6 months drought, and then I didn't have any water. But after 4 weeks, it came out again. So all that. It affects even when you have pretty good mitigation practices in your farm. It's still, if it's too extreme, you cannot survive that easily. But that's one. And the other one I would say lately is the access to labor. There is a problem with migrations. In Honduras, a lot of people are going, traveling to the US, traveling to Spain to work outside of the farm. And this is emptying a bit the communities, and it's difficult to find people. In my case, I'm lucky, and I have like a group that's pretty loyal and hardworking and help me and well, this normally is five, a group of five. That's pretty stable, and with the five of them, we do almost all the jobs. And during the harvest, there we need 20, 30 persons, and their families come. No, so the sisters, the brothers, the fathers, the grandfathers.
I'm sure that's not only luck. I'm sure they're well taken care of, and that's why they keep coming and they stay. Yeah.
Yeah, I try. I built 2 areas where they can rest if it's raining, where they have the latrine. I built a trust relationship. I give advance payments to the workers if they need money with no interest. Just ask for them to work in my farm and pay me back also, but just no interest. Whereas the alternative is to pay 30-40%. I share some of my inputs with them, especially the liquid fertilizers. I share my machinery, my technology, mechanic technology, just to cut the grass and to spray the fertilizers. I also provide grants to students that because you can study for free up to 12. But secondary school, it's out of the villages, and they don't have money to pay, and they want to keep studying. So I help them with the expenses, and so already 3 of them that are studying. What else? I help them with equipment for work, like boots, machetes, all the equipment to protect them when it rains. The coat, good coat, and also when they spray the materials, they are organic, but you cannot breathe on that all the time. So I try to be consequent with what I think they should have as respect, and also the wages I pay are the highest in the area. I started paying more, and then I had like a domino effect, and others had to pay more because they say, "Hey, Bernard is paying this, you have to pay." But then with the migration effect, everything continued to increase. So now we were all forced to pay more. So now they are winning quite good. I mean, it's triple. When I started, they are winning 3 times that. So that's another reason why the cost of the coffee went up a little bit in the last years. It's all of the challenges have a way to tackle them, to confront them, and I'm always thinking of solutions on how to do it, and also to try to adapt to the reality, because sometimes the way I think, the way you think doesn't work with the workers, with the farmers. So you really have to be humble and listen and adapt and trust somebody. And in my case, I'm very lucky to have a farm manager that is all that and more, and it's fantastic. And well, with him, I think we do a good partnership, and we're working together making this possible. And also he's leading a bit the spirit of change in the workers. He's 22 years old, and he's already producing coffee in a very good quality, because I also train them, not me, but with people that know more than me. I take them there and I give trainings at my farm, and they all come. And now he's producing a very good coffee. So now I'm for a couple of years, I found him a market for his coffee, and the other ones are started to also increase the quality by collecting, harvesting, picking the coffee in the optimal ripeness, doing the wet processing correctly, and then I can find a market for the coffee and pay them much more than if they sell it to the intermediary, etc. So it's something that is difficult to break, because that's the way they do it. But it's working.
But that's what's so cool. Like, that's what's so cool about these projects as well, is that they're not just about like producing or like making a product. They're projects that create community, that just kind of have a massive trickle effect wherever they are and influence everybody around them and all those who participate, which is why I always find that these projects are so much more than farming, because they're actually, they could be like educational projects, they could be like, so many different things all in one, which is why like regenerative farming, organic farming, fair trade certifications are so important, because that's what's inspiring for these projects, I find.
Indeed, organic farming is all about life. It's all about love to nature, and we are part of the nature, humans, and we are the ones that are behind all this. So definitely, you cannot be an organic farmer and don't treat your people correctly and have a negative energy. And I think that is the main driver to make. And then the sustainability, well, in my case, I still have some income coming from the financial work I do still. So I don't have the pressure that other ones could have. I don't, I have like 11% of my income goes to all these projects, and well, it should come from the profit, but it doesn't. So it's like, already like something inside my model, and and I still make it profit or not too profitable as I would like to, but still I feel
little by little.
We're running out of time, but I just have like a question I need to ask you, Bernard. I'm sure that a lot of people interested in agri-food or farming have thought of starting farming at some point, and you did it in a pretty radical way, like going to live to Honduras and starting farming without having any knowledge of it. Is it worth it? What would you say to anyone thinking about starting farming?
Yeah, I think it is worth it. Well, my experience is in coffee, which is an amazing industry with so many people in Honduras. We are 120,000 producers, and most of us, 98%, are small producers. So really, in this world, which is huge, is the second commodity. I mean, the second product that moves more money in the world after data, no? So it's huge, and how many speculators are behind this too, no? But then you find the really people that share your passion, and the journey. It's amazing. So if somebody wants to start to be a farmer, I would recommend it if he has the passion and if he can find these people to link to, not the commercial people that are only thinking of producing and making money, but the people that also think of the other aspects that we've been talking about here. So definitely, it's worth it.
That's nice to end on an inspiring note for everyone out there with that dream. I think it's what you said, Chris, as well. It's so hard to hear about these kind of projects and then not think like, oh, maybe I should go start a farm somewhere. But to finish off, we usually ask are you ready to finish off? Yeah. We have 2 questions that we like to ask that we ask everyone at the end of the podcast, because we usually get a nice mix of answers. And one of them is if you could share with us one thing that's just really made you think, what the fuck, since you've started working in this world, because the title of our podcast is What the Field, and it's all about those like shocking, inspiring, difficult and challenging aspects of making the food industry better. So is there one thing that comes to mind as something that you've learned on your journey that's really shocked you?
Good things, positive things, right?
Or good negative. Or bad. Good or bad, yeah.
Well, a lot, but I would say the humanity behind the coffee people. It's amazing, both sides, the side of the producing countries and the side of the consumer. So the warmness of the people,
the community.
That's amazing, and how the network gets bigger against all these negative things that are floating around us. There's hope. And
amazing. And the second question we usually ask is to end on a recommendation for our listeners. So if there's like a book that you've read recently, or a movie that you've watched, or a song that you've listened to, or a podcast or something like that you enjoyed and that you would recommend to everyone listening.
A coffee specialty shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I met last week a fantastic person. He's German. He runs the Coffee Consulate. It's a company in Mannheim, Germany, that basically is a training center in coffee. And he's a fantastic man that for 20 years he's been researching coffee in all its aspects, from the farm to the coffee itself. And he's for me up to now is the person with more knowledge in coffee that I've ever known. And his name is Stefan Schwartz from Coffee Consulate. So I recommend, the listeners to look into what he has published. He has quite a nice LinkedIn page where he posts a lot of things that are amazing, that he has scientifically proven. And it's well, I'm going there next year to get some training from him, because I really liked his way of generating the knowledge and sharing with it. And also I'm visiting one of the farms he works with for 20 years, which is neighbor with mine in El Salvador. And the family is growing there, and of course I will share it with all my network. And it's a big opportunity to share it with your 350,000 customers in CrowdFarming. So definitely is one of these people that disseminates the knowledge and really is here to help to make a better world. So I recommend him.
That's so cool.
That sounds like a good guest for the podcast.
Yeah, that's true. We can just make the whole podcast about coffee. I feel like there's enough.
There's a lot of to learn still.
Exactly. Yeah, there's enough to talk about for our entire podcast. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Bernard, for telling us all about your story. I found it, honestly, really inspiring, and it's so cool to think about the work that you're doing and the project and the impact that it's having. It feels a bit far away, but now that we've gone into it, it feels a lot closer. And so, thank you for your inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity for this participation. And I hope that the coffee is enjoyed by the crowd farmers. Our crowd farming fellows. Yeah,
definitely.
Thank you so much, Bernard.
Thank you. Bye-bye.